Conscious collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Emily, and we are the Conscious Collaboration Podcast. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Emily.
And today we have a guest with us who I am really excited to talk with. Her name is Adell Bridges. Adell was introduced to me by a colleague and collaborator of mine. Shout out to Brian. And Adell is an international yoga teacher and handstands teacher, health coach, and author who grew up in my neck of the woods. She's from Mississippi and is now based in the UK, traveling the world and applying her skills to have created her own methodology of yoga focused on neurology and the neurological aspects of yoga. So I am super excited to delve more into that. Thank you for coming today, Adell.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So can you expand upon kind of your background a little bit more for us? We know you're over there in the UK staying busy. What are you up to these days with the neuro yoga?
With neuro yoga, I mean, yeah, it's just kind of that's like an abbreviation really of functional neurology for yoga. And yeah, I run a training once a year, but in between those trainings, I'm just continuing to learn myself about the brain and the nervous system and how I can bring it in particular to movement, but also beyond movement, of course, because we are more than just bodies, and just bringing it to my own practice and teaching others, workshops and festivals. And I have my online studio, movewithadell.com, and that pretty much keeps me busy.
When did you find yoga or become serious about it?
I think I was about 28. And I was, it was just kind of an alignment of the stars. I think I was like just stressed enough but also kind of like had enough free time. And cause previous to that, I had made up my mind that yoga was like, I don't know, something that like old hippies did, and it wasn't for me, and it was boring. And I actually found an app. I don't think that app exists anymore. It was like, iPhone 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
Old school.
Throwback.
Yeah. And it allowed me to just practice at home before I even had a mat, or I didn't have any of the proper clothes. So I would just do it in my bedroom with the door shut because I had housemates. So I could just wear my underwear because I didn't have anything else to wear. Like sliding around on my carpet because I didn't have a mat, but it didn't matter because I knew nobody could see me. And I think that's where I really like fell in love with it, because it was like that experience that I think so many of us have had where you're like, okay, yeah, I'm moving my body. Okay, this is hard. Oh, yeah, my hamstrings are tight, like la da 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 da. And then you get to Shavasana and you're like, it's like you experience being in the present moment, or you realize that you were in the present moment for like that whole hour or whatever, and that the rest of your day doesn't bring that to you, that level of like presence. I would just finish my Shavasana like, wow, I feel amazing. I want to do that again. And so that's really like where it started for me.
Cool. I can relate to that too. I also started my practice like in a at home, very kind of, uh, you know, haphazard, I guess, kind of way. So were you already interested in neurology and the brain? by the time you got into yoga?
Yes and no. I did my degree in psychology. I remember being
Mhm.
like, I don't know, 15, 16 years old and thinking like, if only I could understand like what is happening in my brain, then maybe I could like fix some of the the issues that I was having,
Mhm.
just, normal like teenage angst. Um
Mm.
and just kind of like, yeah, with my friends, my girlfriends, talking about boys or whatever, like just being like, humans have some issues. Like maybe if I understand the brain, then I can play some role in like helping us humans with our issues.
I
And so I
love
did my
that.
degree in psychology. And so yeah, so I've always been interested in that side of it, but neurology didn't really cross my path until a few years after I started teaching yoga, and that's
Mhm.
when it was like just everything started to click for the first time.
Mhm. And that's when you pretty much when you started to learn about neurology is when you made the connection that, hey, these 2 things, work really nicely together?
I I think so, just because, my 200-hour yoga teacher training was very typical in that, like, the anatomy portion, like, we learned the muscles and the
Mhm.
bones and, um, yeah, like, simple biomechanics, like, what is flexion, what is extension, and this kind of stuff, um, and then in my 300-hour teacher training, it was like this deep dive into the fascia and all
Mhm.
of the fascia lines and everything, but I still was just like, but I don't, it was like I still felt like there was this giant piece missing to the puzzle, and then when I started studying the nervous system, it was like that was the giant piece. I was like, "Oh, of course. It doesn't like the muscles and the fascia are under the control of the nervous system. How we experience anything is because of the nervous system." So that's like the source of a flowing river, if you will. Like
Mhm.
the fascia and the muscles are just like tributaries from that river or whatever. I don't know what analogy I'm trying to make up here, but hopefully
Makes
it's
sense to me.
it's
I'm
working.
following. Yeah, I'm following.
Okay.
The word that came to me was a decoding. So did it
Was
feel
what?
like decoding?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, decoding is what came to mind to
Yeah.
me. Is that like an unlocking or a decoding to figure out in your system? Was that something that you tried with yourself or with clients?
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Um almost yeah, like unlocking a secret code or something because
Mhm.
for sure, yeah, I think we've all had little things here and there, whatever it is in our bodies or in our minds where you yeah, like for me, let me just make this a little bit more tangible. For me, I always had like ridiculously tight muscles just on like the right side of my neck, the right side of my back. It was always so tight, and I did all the stretching, all the side bending, foam rolling. Every time I went to get a massage, I'd be like, "Get the right side," of sort of, and like I'd have my massage therapist like going in there with their elbows and everything. And then when I learned about the nervous system and the brain, I learned that the vestibular system, which is the part of the brain that tells you which way is up, if that's slightly off, which it was for me, then what happened for me was I was ever so slightly tilted to the right because my brain thought that what was up was actually not quite up. So I was tilting to the right ever so slightly, and that meant that the muscles on the right side of my spine were having to work hard. Um, and it was like, oh, that's the cause of this problem. Like, no wonder I can just keep stretching all the time because that's not gonna solve the problem because then after I leave the stretch or I leave the massage, I'm just gonna go back to being slightly tilted to the right. Like, I need to train my brain to understand which way is up so that my right side muscles aren't having to work so hard.
Slightly tilted. It sounds like a band name, I think.
Yes. Good
I think
90s
I'm in that
band.
band.
You are.
Nice.
Here's a question for you. So is the functional neurology yoga combination that you teach, is this kind of its own yoga format? Is this more like movements and implements that you can incorporate into a yoga class that you maybe already teach? Or is it something else?
It's very much the second one. So, for example, like my people who like teachers who have come through my training are all type of yoga teacher, and they don't have to change their style. So I've had Ashtanga teachers, I've had people who do yoga therapy for elderly people, power yoga teachers, meditation teachers, people who mostly just work with private clients and they do like personal training on the side as well, and just all sorts. Like, because what it is, yeah, it's not really a methodology, like stop doing what you've been doing and do this instead. Rather, it's like it's
Mhm.
a supplement. It's like, okay, when you've got your
Mhm.
client or when you're teaching a class and you're, you know, balancing on one leg, here's something that you can do or you can offer your students or your client to balance better. That sort of thing. It's a supplement, really. And
Mhm.
the nice thing about it is that it's, well, there's 2 things actually, and I've just lost one of them because in my mind I interrupted myself. But,
It'll come back.
well, it'll yeah, here's the one that I do remember that I was gonna say,
Okay.
which is just that, for me personally, yoga is such a natural practice to bring these things into because we so much of what like these like quote unquote brain drills that I teach, um, what they are is helping the brain kind of learn, right? Learn a new way to do something, whether it's, get greater range of motion or balance better or just feel more calm, whatever it is, we want the brain to learn. And the brain learns better when we are mindful and we're doing things with intention and when we feel in a place of calm and safety. And I think that yoga already does that so naturally. And so like that is the practice of yoga already, is to be
Mhm.
mindful and be moving or breathing with an intention, and everything about the yoga practice sets the students, the practitioner, up for being in a place of calm, right? And so we're already engendering like the perfect environment for the brain to go, right, cool, new things, I'm going to learn these things like neuroplasticity, pow pow pow. um as opposed to maybe other movement modalities where there's like lots of noise around or there's competition or all sorts of things that can potentially be more threatening for the brain.
Mhm. So you just dropped a fun word, neuroplasticity. Can you um, give maybe the listeners who aren't sure what that concept is about a little bit of the cliff notes?
I'll try. It's like my Roman Empire right now, though. I'm
Ah,
obsessed
cool.
with it because there's lots of different types of plasticity. So plasticity
Mhm.
just means long-lasting change, and neuroplasticity refers to long lasting change in the nervous system. So it's, if you think about habits, like your habits, you do things easily without having to think about it because your brain has already created those neural pathways to do that habit. And it's maybe difficult to change that habit, but it is possible to because you're not stuck. That is what plasticity, that's how I like to think of plasticity, is like you're not stuck. Even as hard as it may seem to change a habit, you absolutely can. And just as I'm sure anybody listening can, I'm sure everybody can think of an example in their mind when they had to work hard at something, but eventually it got easier and easier and easier. And that is neuroplasticity, is just the nervous system rewiring itself. And um, so, yeah, that's it. Just change, basically, long lasting change.
Awesome. So I could tell that you and I could probably sit here and go on and on and on about brain and nervous system and fascia and yoga for hours and hours and hours. And we would just have a blast. But for the people who maybe aren't as geeked out on all those types of subjects, but who might have some interest in, say, seeking out a yoga teacher who has some knowledge in this subject, what can you, what could you um, say to these people that maybe would explain to them the benefits that they could extract from learning to master their nervous system?
So do you mean like a yoga practitioner just looking for a
Just an
teacher?
everyday person.
Or-
Yep. Yeah. Like if I were to listen to this podcast and say, okay, like this sounds interesting. This sounds like something I might want to learn about. How would you convince them that it would be valuable to find somebody who had some knowledge in functional neurology and brought it into their yoga class? Like what benefits could the practitioner get from taking a class like that?
For sure. I think it's just that there's so many. But just to put it simply, the nervous system, like we talked about, like that controls everything. And so for me, at least, I guess I can only speak to my own experience as a yoga teacher. But for me as a yoga teacher, like before I learned about the nervous system, and began implementing all these like brain-based approaches, I was kind of just regurgitating what I'd heard other people tell me about how to stretch a muscle or how to become more flexible or how to get stronger or how to get over the fear of falling out of an arm balance or whatever. Like all of that is just a neck down approach, right? And there, it was like if you had grilled me before I got into neurology, if you had grilled me, yeah, but why? Why does that happen? Yeah, but why? But why? It wouldn't take long for me to be like, it just does, okay, and that kind of answer because I didn't know, and that's because like the knowledge stops. Like you can only understand so much about why things happen, why things evolve and change, like why one person can master a handstand within 2 weeks and another person works on it for 10 years. If you're only looking at the other systems besides the nervous system, the brain is behind everything. So there's one thing that I always like to explain to people is that, so if the brain feels safe about something happening, then it will allow it to happen. So if you're working on your forward folds and your brain feels safe about you doing that forward fold and your hamstrings lengthening and your sciatic nerve being stretched and everything, all good. Those traditional neck down approaches are going to work for you, no problem. But tissues don't adapt or change if the brain doesn't feel safe about that. And so that's why you get those people who like they've been going to yoga for 10 years and they still can't touch their toes or whatever, right? It's like they can try all the drills in the world, and if the brain is not happy for them to do that thing, then it's not gonna happen. And so sometimes like these neck down approaches, they work for people. And so it's easy to be like, but oh, look, these drills, they work. See, they worked for me and they worked for these people over here. But there's always going to be those people. And sometimes in some instances, you're going to be that person. Like we all have those things where we're going to be hitting the brick wall. We're going to be going, hang on, I need something else. Cause all these tissue based drills are not working. And that's where neurology can come in, because it's about making the brain feel safe. Like that's neurology 101. Like if you don't take anything else away from understanding the nervous system, understand that your brain's number one job, the only thing that it really cares about is keeping you safe. right here, right now. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't feel safe about you kicking up to a handstand away from the wall, then it doesn't matter how many drills you do for strength or for flexibility. Like you're not going to feel like you're not going to be able to get that handstand. If your brain doesn't feel safe about you pushing up to a wheel pose, then it's not going to let you do it, right? So rant over. That's what I would say.
I don't know if you can tell I'm like jumping out of my chair here because Lisa and I just had a very similar conversation yesterday in the context of strength training and achieving ranges of motion in strength training. And so I'm just like, yes, to everything you're saying. So that was great. That is great. What do you think,
Yeah,
Lisa?
there are no accidents, and I think sometimes our system finds us when we need it the most. I love that you created this system and are able to translate it for others to adapt it into their own practice, no matter what it is. And do you feel that that translates over into other areas? Do you feel that translates into your entrepreneurship? Any other, I mean, probably anything where you're trying to create sustainable, long-lasting,
Relationships.
yeah,
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that was like the biggest aha moment for me whenever I learned that the brain only cares about keeping you safe. Because that you can see that everywhere. You can see it in
Mhm.
other people and you can see it in yourself all the time. Like, yeah, um yeah, like, oh, I had a chance to ask my crush out. I had like 4 chances today and I still couldn't bring myself to just ask him for coffee or whatever, right? And that's because your brain feels is trying to keep you safe. And this is the thing is like your brain doesn't want you to thrive. It doesn't want you to live your wildest dreams. It doesn't want you to reach all of your goals and be super duper happy. No, it wants you to survive. And
Mhm.
survival does not always look that glamorous or pretty or nice. And so recognizing like, okay, so the reason that I wasn't able to follow through with like, let's go along with that analogy, asking my
Mhm.
crush out for coffee was because my brain is trying to keep me safe. Then I can translate that to, okay, but I am safe. Like, what's the worst that can happen? He says no. And then my life goes on. Okay, I got this. And then I can go do the thing. So, like in my business, um, and in every aspect of my life, if I'm like, hang on, why am I getting stuck here? Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time I can just go, what part of my brain or what part of this does my brain not feel safe doing? Like what part of this is making my brain feel threatened? And how can I mitigate that?
Ugh, you know who else talks about this all the time is Steve, our favorite YouTube tarot reader. Steve, he always says, like, the brain is just there to keep you safe. The brain, the thought, the ego is loud versus your intuition, which is quiet and subtle. And the brain can often like out talk the intuition, so to speak. And he says, never think about something for too long because if you think about anything for too long you'll find enough reasons not to do it. He says if you were to sit there and think about getting in a car for too long, like you'd find you'd find too many reasons just not to do it.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks
Hmm.
for sharing that. I just want to ask
Yeah.
you, like, does Tarot Steve have any more words of
Oh, he's
wisdom?
got
Like,
tons.
Oh, so
And
many.
with your
can we just get
yeah.
him in here?
Yes,
Yeah, we're
yes,
working
and
on it.
Brian knows
Yeah.
about Steve too. Yes, and let's manifest a Steve guest in here. That would be awesome. And he is very as well. He likes to, like you were kind of mentioning in our pre-chat about combining the more uh woo woo side of things, right, with the more scientific aspect of it. And he's constantly doing that with concepts like karma and manifestation and things that might seem a little woo woo to some people, but bringing them together in a more scientific and logical way. So I think you would really be
Yeah.
into that.
Well, I would say if you sit around and think long enough about what science is, you'll see that science is actually
It's
pretty
right.
woo-woo.
Right,
Science
right,
is woo,
right,
science is religion. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
It's all the same.
Electricity is invisible energy, so, like, why do we believe in
Yeah.
electricity, but we have a
Yeah. And
hard time
all of
believing
science
in
is just
chi or
theories
whatever?
and yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, a
Lisa.
couple of things come to mind to me as we were talking. And you know my background in feng shui, so I very much resonate with the aspect of desiring to be in places and spaces internally and externally where we feel safe and comfortable. And
Mm.
really, that's the like recipe for success. But also in my practice, and as Emily and I learn in each and every episode together and talking with our guests, just the harmony and the balance. So just as there are days that are easy and abundant, there's also like the shadow side of things that's very necessary in a lot of ways. So how does that concept of the yin and the yang and the good days and the bad days, how does that fit into your practice, and how does that factor into the language that you train your instructors to guide people through those times when they're like ready to throw it all away because of one, or maybe even a bad week, a day, a month?
Well, I think just to kind of keep it, yeah, I purely on that those basic functions of the brain and how it only wants to keep us safe and everything. Like another aspect of that is like it's all the brain is like super zen in that it is in the here and now. Like it is not living in the future. That part of your brain, that scared little part of your brain, and so it's not thinking ahead. It's not thinking like, well, and obviously we do have our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that allows us to think ahead. But I'm talking about the old brain, that lizard brain, so to speak, right?
Mhm.
That is unable to think ahead. It's not the part of the brain that allows us to plan ahead. And so just, I mean, it's more, I guess, like it kind of ties in with the good old like Buddhism 101, everything is temporary, right? Just reminding people that nothing lasts forever. And very often, I mean, I know for me that's a big uh one of my number one tools for when I'm feeling worried or scared or anxious is like, well, this is just not going to last forever. It just won't. Like as much as it may feel right now that it will, it won't. It's it's gonna be sunny again. It's gonna be, yeah, easy again. And also that, like, going back to neuroplasticity and the way that the brain changes, the way that we can, um, adapt and become more resilient, the way that we become stronger, all of that is through stress, We know that we have to stress our muscles, like, we literally tear our muscle fibers to get stronger muscles. Um, I'm really big on reminding yogis that balance, like if you want to work on your balance, like then if you go through a yoga practice and you're not wobbling at all, you're not working on your balance. You're not
Mm.
going to get better at balance if you're never wobbling. Like you have to do difficult things. And like um eh, I've been like really thinking on this a lot lately. Like, why is our universe organized in a way that we have to do difficult things to grow and learn? Um, but whatever the answer is, that is the way that things are. And so, for sure, also just remembering that, like that yin, the darkness, the mystery, the cold, like we are conditioned to believe that those things are bad. Um, but they're also the feminine, right? So just from a sort of like that point of view, like, what are they really so bad? It's the feminine. Um, but that's where growth comes from, right? It's like if you see a tree, a dead tree that's decaying, that decay is actually also new life, right? And so it yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. This is like a very waffly answer to your question.
No, I think it's a
I
great answer.
Yeah.
I think it puts a lot of things into context. Like, I'm sure that shines through in whatever your guides are to your practitioners that are adapting neuroplasticity and that type of training into their practice for their clients, especially if they're feeling like, well, I'm having a little bit of a time of suffering or a setback or, so I think that was really beautiful, but it makes me wonder, like, who were you when you started this journey and how different are you today than you were when you started? Like
Mm.
physically, mentally, believing?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I can tell you for sure, I'm definitely stronger physically. I've worked
Mhm.
really hard on my strength. I continue to work really hard on my strength, just physical strength. But I think, yeah, I'm definitely more at peace, if that doesn't come across as too braggadocious. But yeah, I've learned to let go of a lot of things. I think I used to be much more of a control freak, and I still catch myself being a control freak, of course. But I have learned to let go of a lot of things, and letting go is almost like it's so pleasurable once you realize like
Mm.
how much easier it is to go through life to just go, ah, okay, I don't have control over that. I'll
Mm.
let just that just go to some higher power to deal with because I can't deal with it instead of trying to hold on to things. Um, yeah, but I don't know because I also look at my younger self sometimes. Like I'll read journal entries or captions that I
Mhm.
wrote or whatever, and I'm like, who was this person? I need to get back to that. I need to get back to that
Oh,
person in
get
some
back to
ways,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I love that. Especially like well, because that is the medicine right there. You just said it. I think we kind of came full circle and really answered that question that I had before about like what as a practitioner am I going to get from learning to manage my nervous system better, and that inner peace. I mean, that's it. That's the golden ticket right there. I think if you zoom out on kind of everybody's individual goals in life, I mean that's really at the heart of it all, because it's a lack of inner peace that is the excess stress and anxiety that are in essence causing all the chronic disease and that we're suffering from today, and decreasing our quality of life earlier and earlier. So I think that's it right there, is learn to manage your nervous system better and learn to create your own inner peace. Not that you don't care about these things that are stressful that are happening, but you do have a choice, um in terms of how stressed you're gonna, and of course that's not to say you shove away, you don't get to feel emotions right about a particular thing, but you can choose not to carry that stress with you throughout life, and that to do that in a productive and effective way is all about the nervous system, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adele, do you feel like you stand straighter today than you did when you were on a tilt?
Mm.
Oh, I mean, I probably do. You have to understand, like, it wouldn't have been, like, super
A
obvious. My
slight
mother
tilt,
would
yeah.
notice it because mothers, it's one of those things, like,
Yes.
mothers notice it, but, like, nobody else noticed. But, I don't know. I haven't thought
I
about it.
wonder, yeah, I wonder as we talk about alignment,
She's gonna start creeping over there now that she's thinking about it. No.
I've been trying it all on a little bit myself. But, like leaning into your right, I mean, I know it doesn't correlate to the sides of the brain, but leaning into your right, perhaps leaning more into the masculine as you're trying to have more strength and presence and looking for your sense of self. And now you've
Mm.
created this system and this inner peace. It is more than just feeling like chill, but it's feeling like empowered or emboldened to be yourself and to stand still instead of scattered. I wonder if your tilt's like a lot more aligned or centered now.
I don't know because it was apparently from what I understand, like I was way worse as a child because when I was a baby I had meningitis and I think that it kind of
Mm.
Yeah.
messed with my vestibular system a little
Yeah.
bit. Um but yeah, for sure, going back to how I had this like big aha moment when I first started learning about the brain where I was like, oh, everything comes down to safety or threat. And just putting that into practice on a daily basis, like just having these little moments where I'm like, oh, there it is again. My brain's trying to keep me safe, and that's why I'm acting like this. Um, and just being the geek that I am, and being able to go like, oh, well, what is happening here, and then letting go, just letting go of so many things. Going, oh my gosh, I'm gripping on so tightly to this thing, and I don't need to. I can let it go. Yeah, that's it's. I mean, I don't have any kind of training or education whatsoever, only a very deep interest in like the quantum of things. And I think that's more your area, Lisa. But like I'm excited about maybe where science will go in the years to come with quantum everything and
Yeah.
linking it with things like that.
I'm not
Is
going to
the
do a
quantum
controversial, but I just heard there's quite a few international conferences right now that are meshing Adele healing along with quantum. So there's a lot of science, and there's scientists that are involved. So I think we're just like at the precipice before they're going to start being able to put these studies in more context. It's going to be beyond 25 participants. I think it's been going
Yeah.
on for a while.
It's yeah, it's I think that there's been an interest in linking like spirituality with quantum physics for
Mhm.
a while because I read this amazing book and I think it was written like I don't know, not recently at all. It's called The Tao of Physics. It's so good. And he basically just like gives you a rundown of quantum physics versus Newtonian physics, and then gives you a rundown of like Buddhism, Zen, and Taoist philosophies, and then just starts going like he's like, okay, now you know what these are. Let's look at all the different ways that they are basically the same thing. And yeah, I love
That's so
it.
exciting. Yeah.
Can also kind of make the analogy, or at least I did in my head, and caveat that I really know nothing about quantum physics, but what I do know about it and about how people talk about it is that it seems like the quantum field and like the dark web of energy in which all of that stuff happens is like the nervous system of the collective or of the earth in a bit,
Yeah.
in a way. Like
Yeah.
I've
it
never
is,
heard anyone
a
say,
network that connects
That
everything.
connects us. Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say the dark word. What did you say? The dark
Dark
web
web
of
of
energy?
energy.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Did you make that
That's
up?
a Steve that's a Steve,
The Steve thing?
well, it's
Yeah.
he didn't make it up. That's a
Something that
scientific
he heard.
concept, a scientific understanding, that we have now, but Steve taught me about it.
Oh, gosh, Steve, we're
Shout out
already
to
in
Steve. We have no idea what his last name
business.
is. We have no idea
Yeah.
anything.
He's just
We just,
Steve.
yeah,
And
Steve's
now
hand.
Adele
He's got
knows
a
him.
hand. Yeah, he's got a hand and some cards and a parrot.
So. All the elements of the universe.
Yes. Very
Adele,
cool.
when are you headed back? You're in the States still today. Are you headed back?
Yeah, I'm here for 2 more days
Oh,
and then back to
wonderful.
the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. What are you looking forward to going back to? Do you have a
Um,
studio there?
do I have what?
Do you have a yoga studio there?
No, I teach a a weekly class at one of my friend's studios. But no, because I'm mostly online. I mostly do things online.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
I think
next? What's
that's
next for
huge.
Adell and functional neurology yoga?
Well, I've got a retreat in Morocco next month.
Ooh.
So that's my next thing.
Wow, yeah.
And then it's the new year, and I don't know yet.
Love it.
Day by day in the moment.
Yeah.
Mhm. Love it.
Well, I really have enjoyed getting to know you today. I heard so many good things about you through Emily and through by way of Brian. But really inspiring to listen to. And I know, you'll probably collect a lot more in your experience and your travels to weave in to your practice. Um, is there anything like you would like to leave our listeners, the change makers, the thought leaders, the entrepreneurs, anything that you would like to leave them in terms of wisdom, a tip or insight?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you called them change makers. And so my
Mhm.
geeky little brain went to neuroplasticity and
Yes.
just
Oh, love
reminding
it.
people,
Yes.
I guess, um, that yeah, we can help people change for the better when they are in a place of safety, feeling safe. And what I see so much, and I'm guilty of this myself, is I guess um it's easy for us to get caught up in our emotions and get kind of yeah, just dictate like how you should change or whatever, and just yeah, meet people where they're at. I don't know. That like your
Oh,
audience, they know that. They know that. But yeah, just like
that's a good
stay.
perspective to bring to it. It's like, I don't know, instead of change makers, feels like I don't want to say like shit stirrers, but like disruptors in your field to change and to chart a new path. I don't know if there's a better word. I think that's what we mean by
Hellraisers.
hellraisers or, time
Just
benders.
trying
I
to
don't
spice it
know.
up a little.
But I love it's just really what you said. It's so perfectly aligned with what we're talking about in terms of entering into the age of Aquarius and times of revolution. And so, as we're inviting in change, we're going to have to find ways to bring ourselves back to center and to feel safe to do these uncharted things.
Yes,
Mhm.
we act more powerfully from a place of calm.
Mm. Mhm. I think too, just to tack on a little piece to that golden nugget, maybe we can utilize that understanding that the brain is just always trying to keep us safe. Also to improve our empathy to others.
Mhm.
Maybe when they're acting in a kind of foolish way or not so, when we
Yeah.
when we tend to get frustrated with other people, coming back to that understanding that their nervous system is just trying to keep them safe too.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get at really is like when you're talking to somebody that maybe you feel very strongly that if they did things differently, then they would be
Yep.
happier or the world would be a better place or whatever.
Yep.
But they also have a brain that is going to try to keep them safe and may get very defensive, and then you do more harm than good. And yeah, empathy.
Mhm.
Love it.
That's so great. Well, this is just the beginning of our relationship, Adele. We do have a closed and private Facebook group that we'd like to invite you to join if you're ever on Facebook. If not, we invite our listeners to continue this conversation inside of that closed and private group. You can ask us questions and we can pass it along to Adele. Adele, how can people connect with you easiest? Is it through Instagram?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram or yeah. Um, yeah, Instagram's easier.
What is your
And we'll
at?
we'll put all your links in the show notes too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it under your name, your Instagram?
Yeah, it's just Adell Bridges.
Adell Bridges. Okay, perfect. Beautiful. Well, I so very much enjoyed this conversation. And I think,
Yeah, me
if we ever
too.
get the opportunity to have Steve here, we should invite you back.
I would love
Yes.
We talked about it
that.
so much.
Yeah,
We'll pull
let's
you,
manifest
you
it.
into that. Yeah, we'll put you into that YouTube channel so you can start helping us manifest that.
Cool.
All right. Any last words, Emily?
No, I think I said a lot of words.
Words.
This was awesome. Yeah, this
It's
was
been
awesome.
fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
We'll
really enjoyed
see.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see everybody inside of the group, and we invite you to connect with us on Instagram and all the different ways. And we're so grateful for you all subscribers and for sharing with your friends and leaving us a review. And that's why we still exist. That's why we show up every week. All right. Well, we'll talk to you in 5.
Talk to you in 5, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.